Aloha, welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me. This is for Thursday, January 11th, 2024. So there's quite a bit to go over today and a few things at the end if you could stay and like the video if you do indeed like anything in it. So let's start with our risk. Is still in high territory, but it's remained stable. So this basic stability lately, the markets are green this morning because it is allowing for more of this growth. So we've got both markets and the futures are in agreement today that it is a rather bullish sentiment. So we've got the 10-year yield and the relative strength of the dollar both under pressure. They are both dropping, and that is contributing to the green stocks that we are seeing this morning in the markets. So sentiment right now, risk on. We are watching the CPI reports going to get this morning. And then on watch are the banks because we are getting earnings. And this is Friday, tomorrow. But JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citi. So we'll be positioning for those. So prior to market open, we're going to get our jobless claims this morning, the core CPI, and then also the 30-year bond auction this afternoon. We've been watching that along with the Fed's balance sheet. So this can affect the sentiment of traders, whether they think the rate cuts will come sooner or later. So for tomorrow, I put this up because prior to market open, we're also getting core PPI, and we're also getting more Fed members coming out to talk. So we're getting Neil Kashkari in the morning, and we're also getting more news on crude. Crude right now is going up. There was another ship that was taken and diverted now to Iran. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we've got a lot of things going on. So moving on, wanted to speak a little bit about de-dollarization. And so, Alex, thank you to you kindly for this. He is not in the United States, and he's showing the push for physical dollars. So the money that you have in a bank account, the electronic version, is not the same as a stack of physical dollar bills that are sitting on your desk. So less than 10% of what we call dollars uh, are actually in physical existence as dollars. So I see physical dollars as an asset. Now, it's much more volatile in my mind than, let's say, silver or gold. However, I do think that it would be a good idea to have cash on hand. I do with my stuff. So the physical accounts, they can delete in a moment's notice. The physical dollars will be a completely different story. And being able to go off grid and use them, I think, has tremendous value. So moving on from that, right now, money is very expensive and in demand now. What do I mean by that? Loans, getting loans, credit card interest, it's still very expensive to borrow money. And so that has a very definite effect on this. So cutting the rates would change this. And of course, that's going to increase inflation over the longer term, even though we're watching it come down for a bit. And then they're talking about de-dollarization from BRICS. And I've got a different view of this. De-dollarization will happen from within. The US dollar will be imploded by its own government. So I've got more on that. If you have questions about it, feel free to comment about it. But I think that it's not going to be necessarily the other countries that are trading in their own currencies. That's not good for the dollar, and it is putting pressure on it. But I think between the trades and the reserves that are required for the global trade, it's going to be imploded by what the United States government is doing. With that, we've got Saudi Arabia saying they are now open to the idea of trading in currencies aside from the US. So they are doing direct trades basically either in the yuan or in reals or whatever the country currency is, rubles even. So they're going basically to a barter system, so to speak. And I think a good portion of this is not just because of the inflation of the money supply, but more because of the confiscation of assets that they've shown that they're willing to do. So it's really hurt that global trade stage. So We've got treasury yields falling, as we were just talking about. The 10-year has dropped. That's very positive for the stock market, and we're watching that go green. So yesterday afternoon, we had Bitcoin and Ether. They rose after the SEC green lights the launch of the Bitcoin ETF. So we've been watching this coming as well. Bitcoin is another asset, but I encourage holding the asset itself in keys off the internet. So I'll do more on that sometime. However, the ETF is another derivative which has risk. So a few more stories. Commerce Bank is now in a joint venture with Global Payments. So what's going on with this? They are offering basically digital payments to the small medium businesses in Germany. So they're thinking this will bolster the economy, as we have been watching has been very ill and having difficulties lately. So they're basically rolling out it's a different form of a CBDC. It's the structure on this global payment system. So they're starting with loans to small, mid-sized banks. So this story is talking about Thursday's inflation report, talking about how it could challenge the market for big Fed rate cuts. So right now, the Federal Reserve has a target cut rates of rate cuts this coming year, and the market is pricing in double. So that will have to be reconciled at some point in time. I think it will be somewhere in between. This is my big story that I really wanted to bring onto you because I want everyone to think forward and be prepared for this. What's in the box? What do I mean? I mean, what's in the shipping container box? So we've got more things coming out. As I was saying, the oil tanker was seized near the Gulf and diverted towards Iran. What does this mean? More fear about shipping. The insurance companies are not willing to cover shipping through this area. So we have the Maersk chief warning that the Red Sea shipping disruption may last for months. Well, as we know, this will increase inflation because they're going to pass on these costs of having to take longer, will also cause supply disruptions. Along with this, we've got Maersk bypassing Panama Canal because Panama Canal is also having issues. So they're going to load these onto railway and basically by train ship them overland and get them to the other point where they can pick them up on the other point and ship them from there via sea again. This is all inflationary for the prices, which we know about this. They're just now beginning to report about this. But what I want you to think forward is what would be in that box? What are they shipping? Because we will see a very slow supply chain issues again. So if there is something that you need, the last time it manifested itself in shortages of appliances, furniture. So maybe I'll look into this a little later if I get the time and do a compilation of what is shipped via these routes or see if I can find out about this. But I just want you to think about this yourself. If there's something that you think you might need, right now there is an amount of supply. And once that supply is there, these are the resupply that will be disrupted. So moving back to our real economy, we've got layoffs, which we've been talking about, job losses. Google is laying off hundreds in assistant, hardware, and engineering teams, so it's spreading. We've got Amazon is laying off several hundred staff in their Prime Video studios. So companies are now becoming less worried about retaining employees. There's now more in the market, and they're feeling a little better about this. So seeing the recession coming, or at least a drop down in the economy, they're planning on their cutting costs, which means losing jobs. So it's not just the United States. I always say this is global. We've got from California to Canada, the Royal Bank of Canada basically moving positions from California back to Vancouver because it's California is such a high cost and the taxes are going to increase from all of the government spending and government plans. So Canada, who is tops in government plans, now it's less expensive for them to host there. That's a major red flag. So we've also got in the UK talking about basically the street economy for real people, people that are not paying their energy bills. They're looking for different ways to stay warm, get around this, and now they're beginning to see defaults, which is kind of the final thing that you see in these types of deals. So we've got UK banks also facing a new levy to rescue failed smaller lenders. So this is on the back of the SVB failure, Silicon Valley Bank. So now they're trying to spread this cost like they do all insurance companies. So all banks will have to pay this. This will eat into their profits. So generally, again, it's going to be passed on. So I want to talk about a few things happening in the Middle East. So we've got Palestinians gathering around the Nelson Mandela Squares. They are basically in South Africa. They are kind of pushing this case against Israel. They've filed a genocide case. And the reason I'm bringing this up is this is just more disruption, more interference, more propaganda that we're seeing. And now we've got US intelligence officials that have begun warning of rising threat to terrorist attacks, as well as in the United States. Well, there has been a surge of migrants that are not vetted, and now they have admitted that there have been multiple terrorists that have come through. So, in the midst of all of this, who takes opportunity on this? Iran. They are now looking at a project worth over $3 billion to increase their maritime transport. So while everybody else is afraid to be using these routes, they are going to capitalize on this. So just some thoughts on that. So now to our lava updates. I do have a couple. Intel announced specialized artificial intelligence chips specifically for vehicles. So they are talking about giving an enhanced personalized driving experience, but these are going to be fed in. They're going to do automatic wireless updates without your decision. And this line right here saying they will also allow passengers and drivers to be monitored for unsafe behavior. So there's so much in that. I'm just going to leave that where it is at the moment. I don't want this to go too long. So we've also got OpenAI, the artificial intelligence like with ChatGPT. They're looking at a partnership with CNN, Fox, and Time to secure news content licensing. So this was with the talk about all of the plagiarism and learning from AI, but there's also, this goes two ways. We're also talking about the possibility of really using this technology to move forward the propaganda that we've been experiencing and seeing lately. So along with that, we've got Microsoft upgrading its cloud infrastructure so that customers in the European Union can now store and process their personal data within the block. So a lot of people trusting this. I personally don't with my data. Data is a huge monetary thing. That's how Google has become so big. So your data is worth a lot and they want it. So, with that, just a reminder to live, trade, and think outside of their system. That includes physical gold, silver, now physical dollars, as you know why. You have any questions on this, please feel free to reach out to me. It's what I'm here for. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until I see you again, stay free.